I've been interviewing World War II veterans for 36 years now. Since I went to a reunion of my father's tank battalion, I went back with a tape recorder because I was so moved by the stories they share among themselves, yet rarely share with their families. After 36 years now, 35 years last year, when I had the opportunity to interview a 103-year-old veteran, I had no idea what to expect. The oldest veteran I'd interviewed to that point was 99. And so I went to meet Morton Katz, and to my great surprise, he talked for 3 hours, almost nonstop. He was so active with his hands, so, moving all the time. I had never recorded a video. I don't do video. I'm much more comfortable just using a little tape recorder, now a digital voice recorder. But I took out my camera. I thought I ought to get a couple of pictures, and I saw the record button. So just on an impulse, I hit the record button, and I got an hour of video of Morton talking. And just luckily, he was talking at that point, because he had already been talking for 2 hours. He was in Anzio and talking about how many casualties there were and what a disaster it was. He'll get into that. Anyway, that's part of his story. I had to come back 2 more times because he wasn't finished. And after the third interview, I thought, we really ought to put this in a book. So I hastily transcribed all 3 interviews. He had some writings online that he had done before about his unit. He was an original member of the 509th Parachute Infantry Regiment, which is still active. In fact, when it was his birthday, and I put a little note up on their Facebook page that it was his 104th birthday in May, it got like 200 likes. That they have a very active outfit. And in fact, in his book, he had 3 pictures of a Sergeant McClaney. And Sergeant McClaney's granddaughter saw it on the Facebook page and contacted me. And I told her that, Morton spoke very highly of her grandfather. Her grandmother is still alive, and they're watching it together on Zoom. Hello, Aaron McClaney Franco, and your grandmother. So unfortunately, Sergeant McClaney has passed away. But anyway, without further ado, here is 104-year-old Morton Katz. Morton, would you like the, you want the walker?
No,
You want to stand up then?
you can stand in a similar position.
Right over here.
And stand right.
Okay.
Okay.
The plan is quite right.
Is that?
Is this locked down?
Like,
No, this is perfect. This, I would leave it. Okay. Okay, my picture's here, so it must be
yes,
working.
that's right. You're right.
You're-
And this is the.
Do you want
you can
This
decide
or
on
you
mic-
want this microphone? Not this one? Is that
I-
locked?
I'm trying to figure out how to lock it.
There's a lock over here.
I didn't really know where to start. I used up most of my material. It's all in here. I don't have anything in writing. And I was hoping to have a chance to do that again. And I made a few errors and so forth. much of this came out of a strong declaration to my kid brother, Sheldon. And I had graduated Connecticut State College. That's that little place out in Stores. And I couldn't get a job. And I went on out to New York one weekend and said, the hell with everything, and I'm going to have a good time. And I just couldn't do anything else. And I went out to Flushing Meadows to the then World's Fair. And I went in there and I had one of these college press passes, and I thought they'd throw me out, but they didn't. And I bumped into my kid brother, and we went around, and this is where the original parachute jump towers were located. This is a tower 250 feet high. It was, you got into this basket of 4 people. They locked everybody in, and then as soon as you were scared stiff, the basket goes up, and it gets to the very top. It trips another thing, and you go down, held by wires. And we watched this for a while, and my brother says, we're going to take that. I said, what, are you nuts? You got to be out of your mind. I can tell you one thing, you never get me on that damn thing. So several years later, when I was called up ordered to extended active duty, I was at Fort Benning, Georgia, and we had a speaker one night from the airborne, and he gave us quite a song and dance. And great thing, new operations, plenty of promotions, big stuff. And if you're interested, write to the headquarters at Birmingham, Alabama, blah, 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 blah. And they went on this whole thing. At the end of the evening, the speaker from the airborne, a fellow named Major Jim, what the hell was his name? Anyway, he could sell ice boxes to the Eskimos. And he said, oh, by the way, just for attendance purposes, would you sign the roster here? As I can see you know what's coming next. All those damn fools, including myself, who were sucked into the signing the roster, found themselves on orders to attend the jump school at the field at other end of Fort Benning. It worked out pretty well. And I was sent to the about maybe this is class 27, or there was we had probably 6 or 7 of us went to the 507 parachute infantry. That was the outfit featured in a movie called The Band of Brothers and so forth. And I saw it the first time it was released, and I said to myself, my God, we didn't wear that damn thing. We didn't have this. We didn't have that. My wife says, that's why I can't watch these movies with you. And so we were at that time I was at the 502, which is to be turned into a division later on. The training was quite interesting, and among other things, we were told that when we are through with the physical in the morning, we would be going over to the packing sheds and learning how to pack a parachute. And on the last week, Monday, the last week of the training, you would jump using a parachute which you had packed yourself the preceding Friday. So how'd you pack your parachute? Damn carefully. they were just getting plans for, we didn't know this at the time, getting plans for North Africa. And Lieutenant Colonel hmm?
Raff? Was it Colonel Raff?
No,
Colonel Raff? Harry Raff?
okay. Bear with me, I'm at the edge of catching my breath here. A small group of Italian was sent to England. This was in June of 1942. And this group was going to jump into North Africa to capture the airfield at Tafarui in just outside of Oran on the west side of North Africa. So we got up to, we were sent up to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. That's the home of the airborne. We were at that point, we were found that the 502 was going to become the 101st, or the initial part of the 101st Airborne Division. And I had a chance to meet the future Commandant General Lee, and we were there doing the things to form the regiment, to form the division. And there was a levy, as they put it, a levy on this airborne in general for replacements to be sent to England and join RAF as replacements only. So we were not on a manifest. We did not go to England, and we did not go into North Africa. We followed by ship. I was very lucky because the gun crew, we were over on a civilian ship, the Borinquin, and we got on the ship, and I met the gun crew commander. He was teaching me how not to get seasick. And you walk forward, aft, starboard, port, and so forth. And if you use the rest of your good sense, you walked out of that ship without getting sick. One of the guys in our group had 12 very green second lieutenants, and they started to be funny about it. And it was so funny that they all got sick. And I had a fine time because I had a very nice mess there, and I was able to enjoy it pretty well. When we got to England, by the way, we had an awful time tracing out where the second 503rd was. It was at that time it was called the 503rd Battalion. And we finally tracked down Edson. God, I haven't got insurance. And we had two of the guys with me. We had out of the 12 that with our command function, and we finally got to Edson D. Raff. He was a short, chunky guy, and he let his feelings be known. And he said, "You're not supposed to be here. I said in the combat zone." And I liked the guy, but I never served under him. They were already staging for the North African invasion, and there was no mention of our group as such in the manifest, so obviously you could not go on the mission. I'm going to skip over a lot of these things, make them rather short, because we started to go west from the eastern coast there, and we went through. The objective, by the way, was in stages to get us out to Morocco to form the Fifth Army. We didn't do anything. We found out later on that the 82nd Airborne Division left from Hampton Roads, Virginia, and headed for the west coast of Africa. And after the combat was over in North Africa, the divisions finally set up a bivouac in the area of Oujda, French Morocco. I'm going to be very clear on this, because as soon as the 82nd Airborne got there, it changed its stationary, so to mention all these places in North Africa where, of course, they had not been. And we were attached to the 82nd Airborne Division for rations and administration. There was something wrong. I didn't know what was going on there, but they were kicking our people around pretty badly. And it seemed that somebody in the division had hurt feelings over not getting across the ocean at that time first. And of course, it was not the plan. That was the plan. Our first operation was after the main body had jumped into Tunisia, was in the overall invasion of North Africa. Now, we did not know it. And Eisenhower wanted to get all the credit for all invasions of France. And we were supposed to, they were the main body of the 2nd 503rd was made 2 jumps into Tunisia, had some very successful operations in Tunisia, and eventually had to retreat after the the big pass, Kasserine Pass operation, and they had to retreat with everybody else. They had nothing else they could do. We followed the 82nd Airborne back into Tunisia, and we then found we would be attached to one of the regiments, was also held in reserve during at that time, the Germans were holding out strong at the southern part of the boot at Salerno. He was having a bad time of it, and General Clark allowed Ridgway to drop our battalion, less our reserve people, our replacements people, at Avellino to and to block the road from Avellino to the area between Avellino and Salerno. You don't know where you're going to meet people, and one of our guys who was involved, not from our group, was on his job that day and chasing Germans through the forest and so forth. And a man runs out. This is a true story. There's another. And a man, an Italian civilian, runs out of a house. Says, "Don't shoot." Now I break that. Okay. Don't shoot. I know President Roosevelt, Jim Farley, and lawyer Abe Katz. This really happened. So they took the fellow out. They brought him back to the rear area, and they gave me the information they received. So eventually I had a chance to do some writing. I wrote home to my father, and I told him the story. He says, "Yeah," he says, "Mike was a bootlegger, and he was convicted of bootlegging, and not being a citizen, he was deported immediately." And that was it. I never saw him again. I never saw him at all, as a matter of fact. I just had the correspondence with my father. And then he, some years later, I was working as a magistrate in GA 12 court. I was doing small claims. And I noted the case coming up, the defendant had the same last name as this gentleman who our guys picked up in the area behind the landing. And I asked him a few questions. He says, "Yeah, Mike was my cousin." It didn't change the war any, but I thought it was awfully funny. My first contact with what was going on there was, and I had to follow we had to follow the division, and then we went in our battalion went into Italy itself in October, and then started from Venafro, from Naples. It was a little on the grim side. We found out that the Germans retreating north had not only smashed the railroads, but put a time bomb in the post office in Naples, and it was time to go off as the Germans had predicted, and killed 125 civilians, mostly women and children, in the post office. At this point, I shouldn't say commander, but the executive officer was in charge of us in the rear echelon, and he was relieved. And we received a new commander. I reported in at Naples and reported to his new commander who I was and so forth. And he just looked up and says, "You're the adjutant. And remember, the adjutant goes with the commander." And he seemed to me to be my kind of guy. William P.R. wrote. Now, there was and still is a sizable Jewish community in Italy. I'll come to that in just a minute. But Mussolini did not get involved in the Holocaust. He was a no quid so-and-so, but this one he can charge off in his favor. My first operation was with the old man, the CO, and he did make it quite strong to me. This is on November 1st, 1943. And he saw to it that which I did. I was with him up the mountain behind Venafro. We started out from Venafro, small town, just about where the boot curves up. And I got to tell you, I was impressed. I've had a few commanders, but this guy was really great. And we were successful. I don't have the picture, but I have a great picture that we had two fellows who were artists, commercial artists, and they have a picture of me with about a beer, 100, maybe 30, 40, maybe about 2 months of beard. It was pretty impressive, sloppy too. And we stayed on the mountain. I do my job as an adjutant in the morning, or maybe up to the noon hour. I had some administrative jobs, and at night we'd go out and pick up those that might have been killed the night before. We had comparatively low losses, and I got a lot out of the being able to work 3 different jobs, and I learned an awful lot about working with people too. We have, from Italy, we got to the first fiasco, which was the Anzio beachhead. This was staged and orders drawn and so forth, things that we had to do in our headquarters. One of the ideas that came forth from the higher headquarters people was someone thought of having the ducks. These are you've seen them, all these 2.5-ton trucks with flotation devices. And they were going to bring some of the howitzers, a short 75 millimeter guns across. It did not occur to anybody to weigh the howitzers, and it did not occur to anybody to check the capacity of the ducts, of the capacity. As it was, they got halfway across and sank to the bottom of Baia Bay at Pozzuoli. And we actually went into Anzio, getting off the British ship, the HMS Winchester Castle. The Rangers went in at 2 o'clock in the morning on January 22nd, and after making a short entry, they walked into a trap, and most of the Ranger battalion was lost. Had we got as far as the Corona area, and there is a cemetery there, and the person buried there, most prominent, was the son of Gibaldi. Again, he's well known. His father was a revolutionary who freed freed Italy from France in the 19th century. We got an order from the Corps to stop and dig in. I thought my CEO was going to go nuts. We had a clear channel as far as we could find out, and we had to stop, which allowed the Germans to come in, go into the hills above the back of the as far as we could make it. And there were 7,000 killed on the beachhead because of this blundering. I had a chance to talk with General Mark Clark years later in a private conversation, and he said his biggest mistake was to have the Sixth Corps under command of General Lucas, was because Lucas failed to exploit the entry into the front that we had made for it. We were constantly under shell fire, and we had I am trying to. One of the things we had to do was to take the casualties, the fatal casualties, nice way of saying killed, those have been killed, into our supply area and search the personal effects of the individual, so you wouldn't send some family home above by mistake a pack of dirty pictures and things of that nature. On this occasion, we had some casualties were sustained because it was a very poor place to unload troops. And one of the younger men had come in, had got just barely stepped off the LSI and caught a stray slug. We went through his personal baggage, and there was all there was in the barracks brag was one of those Leatheroid light tan frames, a picture of a young girl, probably 13, 14 years old. And this kid was probably 15 years old. He certainly wasn't 18 years old. I stood there and I just started to fall apart. And I told the sergeant, I said, finish up, and I had to walk out. And we eventually broke out, and we finally got into Rome. We had a strange amount of harassment and being kicked around by the 82nd Airborne, and they were very upset because for some reason, some brass hat in the division had thought that they should have gone to their the first airborne outfit to go in there, which didn't happen. And it was planned that way because for the original invasion, to take the airport did not require more than a battalion. Thank you. I'll find him. We had, as I said, 7,000 total troops killed on the beachhead. We were pulled back, and we went into preparing for southern France.
Why don't you start maybe answer some questions?
I'd be
from people,
delighted
too?
to. That's my next move.
Yeah, he's gonna answer questions. if we have.
Okay. I'm going to take a break myself now, and I'd love to have some questions. That has two purposes: one, to answer your question, and three, to see if you've been listening.
You were going to talk about the Jewish.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
yeah, that's
you went to
coming
the-
up right now.
Oh, okay.
Southern France, yeah. I mentioned that Mussolini had not got into the Holocaust business, and he stayed away from that. We went into southern France, and we had a jump phase, and then there was also a part of the seaborne phase. I told the commander, I said, I have not been doing any jumping in here, and this doesn't make me look very good. He says, yeah, but I have to depend upon you to do such and such an operation. What I found interesting, and this came to me from our intelligence people who got in there first, the Italian military was so sickened by what was going on with the Germans, the Gestapo, the SS, the German military, that they were not just hiding, but they were active. The Jews were active in being helped by the Italians, and not only helped and hidden, but even spirited out, hidden out, and even taken out of the area. And I remember this was in August of 1944, and we did not know that the Southern France operation should have taken place the same day as the Normandy invasion, but there were not enough boats, so they had to waste these boats here. Eisenhower wanted all the glory, also wanted some good deals on his books, his taxes and so forth. And he killed any mention of any connection between Southern France, the Southern France invasion and the previous Normandy invasion. Anyway, I'm looking at a barrage of questions here now.
Questions.
Yes, Doctor.
What was it like being Jewish back then in the military? Were you treated differently? Were there discrimination? How was that?
No, the Jews were Mussolini managed to keep the Jews up pretty well out of sight. Sort of amounted to the active Italian military were also able to keep the Jews well hidden, and at the same time take any action possible to hide the Jews, to get them hidden behind buildings, hide them from other areas, so that they were relatively safe. It was I had a couple of Jewish officers, Italian officers who were Jewish, that were doctors in my class at the infantry school in 1951, and he thought it had been very helpful in saving the Jews down in Italy.
Did you experience discrimination being Jewish?
What?
Maybe, did you experience any discrimination as being a Jew in the military? I know there were units that were, people were from different parts of the United States who were serving. Did you experience any discrimination, anti-Semitism as a Jewish soldier?
You encountered some Southern characters who were not very kindly toward Jews.
I don't think so. I didn't have time to check that or get started on it. It was unfortunate the other way around that the material who soldiers in the German army, probably mostly fascisti, who treated badly any soldier they captured who might have been of Italian descent. But I didn't have any contact of that nature.
When you were a paratrooper,
Yeah.
did any news come out? I don't know how you heard about it. Did anybody know about the Holocaust, the concentration camps? Did anybody know what was going on? I know previous to the war starting, President Roosevelt didn't say anything to anybody in this country about the Jewish people and the concentration camps. When you were a paratrooper, did you find out about the concentration camps and what was going on in Europe with the Jewish people? Did you hear about this at all when you were in the service?
Not really until after the original invasion of June 6th, 1944. We had nothing like that.
But you
Hmm.
liberated a concentration
We did,
camp,
yes.
Roboland.
Eventually, my battalion, after southern France, we were taken north, and my commander was taken out in late October and transferred out for a higher appointment. The survivors of our outfit, and there were very few, were transferred to the 82nd Airborne Division, most of us to the 505th Parachute Infantry. They were treated very badly. Many of our experienced non-coms were busted back to private, although orders specified that there would be no such thing. And we got some reports as the troops moved eastward And I think it could have been the Dachau, could be the first real contact, as I remember. We didn't have time to check these things out. As soon as we got information, we got out there, and one of the things that was important was they just started contacting whatever agency was working on names to locate the names, locate people who were survivors, related to survivors, possibility of some form of closure for these people. That was about it. We just didn't have a chance to do too many things of that nature. Yes, sir.
How did you find out that the war was over? Where were you? What were you doing? And what did you?
It was almost the same as when Roosevelt died. It was just another day. No, I don't know. It was not like it was in New York, I understand, up there. So we just had another day of business rounding up. It was easy because the Germans were very anxious not to be captured by the Soviets. They estimated about 5% of the Germans captured by the Soviets ever got back to Germany. But this was the camp at in Germany was a fairly small one. But I walked into this warehouse, a giant warehouse, and there were mountains of wooden clogs held together with nails and used by inmates of that concentration camp.
This was the Roebelin, Wrobelin, Roebelin camp.
The Volbelin, yes. Volbelin, yes.
And then didn't you have something with the commandant's?
Oh, yeah. I was in charge, so I went to the office right away, and I was pulling books off the shelf and throwing radios out. And I think I took a gun for myself. And the woman there he had I think he had a wife and two daughters there. And she started belly aching about I was messing the office up because I had a responsibility to obtain contraband, which telephones, weapons, and list of people. The Nazis kept meticulous records. Another thing was it helped the people who had been suckered into buying insurance. And the company said, well, where's the proof of death? And they would find people with that name in the list of those who have been through the camp. But when I don't think we even knew about the German surrender until a couple of days after Eisenhower announced VE Day in June, May 8th. I'm sorry, May 8th, just before my birthday.
15th. Speaking of your birthday,
Yes.
it's a little late, but we have a little presentation. If Gary,
Now, don't rush this thing. I got 103 of them behind me already.
Well,
show,
we have a birthday card for you.
Oh.
It's a little late, but. And we actually have, I think, 3 World War II veterans who have signed this also. Yeah. And got your picture on here, a couple of pictures of you on there.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
That one there, huh?
Yeah, I had just come off the line. We had just come back from opening up the camp in Germany. And I was a bit ticked off, and it looked like that too. So I had said to her, and I won't repeat the words that I was using, but so I told my interrogator, you tell that so and so and so and so and so and so that you're gonna shut her big fat mouth about it. And I had a knife in my boot for some reason, cutting up bananas, I think. And she shut up in a hurry. It's flat areas up there, and our whole outfit coming up was easily seen from several miles away. So the two SS guys that were really heads of the camp got away. I always sorry I missed them.
Show it to the audience. Any, one more.
We're gonna put that right in front here for you, okay?
Service that was held in Germany. When the two soldiers, I mean, it was not Germany and. Did you have an opportunity to participate in that? Well,
I'm not quite following you. I'm sorry.
Okay. But can you come up here and here? Oh, wait, you can. You can sit there.
When the United States troops entered into Germany, there was a Jewish service. They say the Dalalam and Ein Elohim. It was
Bingo. Yes, yes. How could I forget that? Good, you got it. Okay. Thank you. When we were picked for occupation duty, we got to Germany in late summer, and Rosh Hashanah will be coming up very quickly. As you know, the Army chaplains were picked from anybody, any denomination or so forth. And by a good coincidence, the Berlin district chaplain was himself Jewish, a rabbi, and he went through all the records so he could find out who's who, and he was able to obtain transportation to bring all the Jews in the military in that area. He had found a synagogue in Berlin, which had been desecrated in 1932, and he had it almost rebuilt and rededicated. Thank you. And he got saw my name, and so of course I got the first Aliyah, and I stood there and I realized that's the first Aliyah in this synagogue since 1932. And the most interesting thing I remember was over half the congregation consisted of Soviet soldiers. They all looked alike. Little guys with shaven heads and those felt boots and heavy jackets, and they also had the secret police with them at the same time, and make sure that we couldn't get these guys to come out and come back with us. But it was very, very interesting and very exciting, and I kind of, it's not quite the same operation, but I just felt like Judah McAfee reopening the synagogue in Berlin after kicking the teeth of the Syrians. And it was pretty exciting there.
There's no more questions. I guess I encourage people to, see if they'd like to look at the books that Aaron's brought, and I think Mr. Katz is willing to sign books if anybody would like to get their own, copy, and join me in thanking you so much for.
Thank you.